Hi, welcome back to another CSRM podcast. I'm joined today in the studio with our Executive Director, David Waddell, and also our PF Flyer. PF Meyer with us, and PF is our International Director. And so we are here today to kind of give you an update and some of the good news that's happening within the CSRM family. The CSRM is alive and well. We're, as you know, in some transition, and we have this new executive director with us, and we are so excited about you.
Woohoo!
And what's
Can you
happening.
tell?
And we're here together because we just finished some
Meetings and
yeah.
dialogue.
We had
brainstorming, all that
international
stuff.
teleconferencing with a lot of our international staff and all of that. But hang on, we're going to give you some stuff here that's going on with CSRM, and we're just glad that you're joining us. So this is going to give you some opportunities to hear what we're doing, but also about some resources and some places and ways that you can plug in and help your sports ministry. So thanks, guys, for joining us.
Great.
Here.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us, Greg.
But Dave, let's start with you a little bit because you do have a long history with CSRM. Just bring us up to date, kind of a snapshot of all that.
Well, I was at a conference when CSRM was introduced as a possibility for assisting local churches and recreation and sports ministers with consulting help, resources, sometimes just a shoulder to cry on. So been kind of in and around the CSRM family for 25 years. And just got on the board a couple of years ago, and this past September was honored to be asked to be the executive director to help with the transition towards the future and what we can do. We're sticking with our vision. We are here to help local churches use recreation, sports, and fitness as a tool for reaching people for Jesus Christ. And so I'm honored to be here.
But you were a local sports minister yourself, though, right?
I was for about 20 years. I did sports and recreation ministries for 4 different churches. Just had a blast getting to work in that. It's kind of what I always called the 6-day-a-week ministry. Half Sunday that was working with Bible study, and then we got to apply things through sports, recreation, and fitness. And let me tell you something, you put a sweaty person after a hard game and you find out how much their faith means to them. I saw a woman with a piece in ceramics that didn't turn out quite like she thought it would. You find out really how much more work you need to do on Sunday.
Did she put you in that ceramics class, though? I'd like to see that.
But David, you also hosted one of the CSRM conferences, Sports Outreach Summits. You are now teaching at Ole Miss. Tell us a little bit about that.
For the last 12 years, I've had the joy of teaching in sport and recreation administration at the University of Mississippi, or Ole Miss as we're affectionately known. The joy of it has been it's a public university and a secular university, but all of my experiences in sport and recreation administration come from the church background. So that's what I share, and out of that have been able to use that as a ministry and as a witness to college students throughout.
P.F. Myers.
Yes, sir.
You've been with CSRM in a lot of different capacities through the years, coming in and out. Give us a little bit of your pathway to where you are today.
Yeah, well, I started out in youth ministry many years ago and ended up taking a team to Mississippi to work with an inner city ministry there, and eventually came back to that same ministry because they were looking for volunteers, but in the end discovered that they had a gymnasium that was not being used, and basically they said, here you go, we don't know what to do with this, but we think you can use it to reach the community. So we started all kinds of activities to reach into a poor African American community, and in many ways, I became the most powerful man in the
Yeah.
in the community because I had keys to the gym.
That's right.
So everybody came to me. But
My son did not want me to quit being a sports minister because I'd had to give up the keys to the gym.
I'm telling you, man, it's really valuable. But from that experience, and then eventually getting into international ministry, getting connected with different leaders in our movement, God has really used a lot of things to shape me, to bring me to where I am. I did sports ministry myself on the ground for between 10 and 15 years, from that inner city setting to more suburban, middle class, organizing leagues and tournaments, to partnering with local churches to help them develop ongoing sports ministries, to training leaders now, which is a lot of what we're doing through CSRM, but to train churches, pastors, sportsmen, how to use the tool of sport, recreation, and fitness for evangelism, discipleship, and church planting. And so out of that came opportunity to partner with CSRM some years ago when I was on the field, and then I guess it's been about 4 years or 5 years since, Greg, you asked me to lead the Global Network Partners program, and then within that time frame I started doing a lot more things internationally, which ultimately now is as the international director.
And you've been in some 90 countries approximately.
Yes.
And so you've seen the sports ministry, local church sports ministry, and other kinds of sports ministries right firsthand. And probably, I consider you to be the world's expert in terms of knowing how all of that fits in. And if you're just tuning in with this podcast of CSRM, we are on the staff, the three of us. We have about 30 staff around the world. Now that oversells it a little bit. We have a half a dozen staff emeritus, and what that means is staff emeritus are people that are more on the retirement end. But every one of our 6 are committed to doing something. So today we were on the call with Todd James. He's writing a book and reflective. We were on with Roger Oswald, who we've all stolen stuff from. And Roger's been a mentor, Todd has too, with us in various capacities. Brian Mason, others that have been doing what you do that watch or listen to this, and what we've done. And then we have a number of domestic staff, a number of folks here. Some of them are helping us with keeping the book straight and doing all the mailings.
Doing these podcasts.
And Andrew that's behind the camera spinning the dials for us.
Yeah.
And then we have some international staff, and staff for us means they're the people we attempt to pay people. we try to raise.
Well, our benefits are out of this world.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's what we.
Any of you that want, seriously, any of you that might be listening or watching that would love to partner with a particular part of the world and engage staff members there, we would love to know that your church or you or your business would like to fund this. We really believe that there's nothing better, more effective, more efficient, more strategic, more relevant than what we're doing to empower local churches around the world. And so we are representative of a group of people around the world committed to this. We're overseen by a board. And
Greg, to add to that list, you mentioned our staff, but as I initially got drawn in, was through these global network partners who are
some of our staff we consider, even though they're not paid.
Okay, right, exactly. And the distinction is that they're still committed to the vision and the strategy, but we really, like all of them, come alongside them to support them, and they're serving with other ministries as well. So none of these are exclusively CSRM, but we're truly acting out this dynamic of partnership.
That's one of the things that's distinctive about CSRM, that from the inception of it, every staff person was to be connected with something else. And I don't think we have anybody that's full-time doing nothing but, all of us are related to something else.
Right.
With another ministry, with another church, with something. And so this is part of who we are because we want to stay close to what's happening out there.
Mhm.
David, let's go back a little bit. This is kind of where we are. Where are we going?
Well, that's a great question, and we know that without a vision, the people perish. So here's where I see us going. For one thing, we have to be the best friends for the sport, recreation, and fitness minister out there, whether it's a paid staff member or a volunteer in the church. We're the ones that can help you. Listen, we know that a lot of people in your church don't give you the value of being like the other ministers or the other ministries. We're the ones that know you are vital and you are important. We have to maintain connection with you guys. And so a phone call or an email or a text, listen, we believe in you and what you're doing. You are on the front lines of the battle that we face in this world against the enemy. You're on the front lines. Culturally, sports, recreation, and fitness is just an easy way to get a pathway to someone's heart. So we want to maintain connection with you. I also see us getting to the point where we are able to financially provide more assistance, not only here domestically, but more importantly, to our GNPs and to our international staff. The difference in these other parts of the world that sports is making is just incredible, and we have to continue to do that. I think the major thing that we're going to see in the future, gentlemen, is that we're going to see a wider base of fundraising and of funding, because this is an important ministry. We're going to be just out front and ask people to help us as we try to reach this world for Jesus Christ. And your dollars, your prayers, all of those are going to play a part in this in the future.
We're looking forward to that, and we're excited to be involved in that. And I'm going to go into a little bit. Some of you may not even know yet, but in my transition, I've become the director of resource production. And so we are providing and we're producing these resources. That includes our Overwhelming Victory Press. Yes, we have our own publishing house. We have a number of books that are already out under that, and we have many that are planned. We have a whole series of books that is working us through our three-tier paradigm: theological truth that informs a level 2 philosophical principle, biblically based, out of which emerges our level 3 methodological models. And so we are contributing to that in different ways. Dave has been on our editorial team. He has been editing many of the books. And actually, Paul, PF here, he has a segment in this series of books called International Insights. He takes a lot of what we're doing with our play-by-play narrative and adding some color analysis about the anecdotes and ways that you can apply it in an international setting. We also have Greg English. Greg is a practitioner at a church in Virginia, massive sports and rec and fitness ministry there, and he has a practitioner's perspective in almost every chapter in these books that we're producing from now on, helping this become very relevant and very, very, very real to people like yourselves. And so these are some of the products that we are producing, some of the resources that we're producing. Of course, we've got this weekly podcast. You already know about that because you're either watching or listening to this. But we also have blogs on a weekly basis. There's a lot that's going into under all of this. In fact, we sit in our Overwhelming Victory Flick studio that we're producing a lot of this. And Paul, tell us a little bit about your training series for internationals that's a video series.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, I was involved practically in leading a sports ministry for 10 to 15 years in many different settings and many different contexts. And so a number of years ago, I realized that not only was I excited about doing the ministry, but I actually became more excited about being able to train others to do it. And it really comes down foundationally to what we're called to do with the Great Commission and our commitment to make practical, the teaching of Paul in 2 Timothy 2:2, where he says, "These things you've heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, and trust to reliable men who are then able to teach others." And so what really has my heart and my passion now is to go into different countries of the world, to work with our staff, to work with our GNPs, to empower them to start a church sports ministry movement in their own country. So we're very much on the front lines as a catalyst. And the training series that we have, we call it Ministry Principles in a Sports Jacket. It's all very much based on these theological truths which lead to the proper philosophical principles, which then allow us to implement it in the form of our methodological model. So we say that
with an international slant.
Well, exactly. But the thing is that the theology is about God, and God never changes. And so it's pretty much 100% the same across culture. And as we focus on the theology, and I share this with the pastors and the church leaders, they say, "Wow, this is exactly what we need. What do we need to change?" And they say, "Nothing. This is it." Then when we get to the philosophical principles, it's more about the questions that they're asking in the culture as it relates to how this applies to my context. And maybe that's 70% the same across culture, but really the questions are where you're trying to find the relevance, so that then they can identify their own target audience, fulfill their own calling that God has placed on their life in order to serve in their own community. And so the training really focuses on that. It's 12 basic seminars that deal with things like the biblical foundation of sports ministry. What is the mission of the church? How does this fulfill the mission of the church? And then how can we
28 sessions.
Right, on video. And we're trying to get those released in a better format, so you can find them more easily and be
Always
able to
updating,
track with them.
Always updating with technology and all. But go to our website.
Yeah.
You can see them there. We have our own YouTube channel,
Yes.
and these are the kinds of things that we're
Well, and
producing.
why this is important is because we've discovered that if you don't have a good foundation,
Yeah.
your ministry will not be effective.
That's exactly right.
And so we're not coming in teaching you how to run a soccer program, or in Madagascar, cow wrestling, where that's a national sport. But we, sat around with these pastors, and they're learning about sports ministry, and they're trying to figure out how can we use cow wrestling, to reach our people, because that's a very popular sport in one area of the country. So, but the joy is that the truths apply across culture.
Right.
And if they understand those truths and apply them to their ministry, and our heart is for sports, but I tell these guys, if you do this in any ministry that you have, you're going to be effective, because it's teaching them how to do effective evangelistic disciple making together, not just one, but to do both. And in parts of the world, evangelism tends to be the area of focus, and we limit discipleship. We were talking with our brother in Kenya today, actually, and he said, we need more of this. We need more discipleship tools. And so the training is focused on giving this foundational platform that then allows them to effectively pursue the method, which is now, okay, I want to do a soccer program
That's
to reach this group. I want to do a cow wrestling to reach my neighbors.
The people in Madagascar, they're the experts in the methodology.
Right.
After they understand what everybody across the world is sharing theologically, that's all the same.
Right.
We're down to our last couple minutes here. People are on the treadmill, or they're ending their commute.
Maybe we
to
should
work.
join them. I don't know.
And so we have this window of time. But if you are interested in any of these resources, please contact us. We have not yet compiled the numbers for 2018, but we know that we were approaching 1,000 or more churches that we had actually consulted with, trained, all that in 1 year. That CSRM, with our last numbers, they were solidly in the 800s, approaching 9, and we anticipate more than that at the end of the year. And so if you want to join a community that is literally impacting the world, now's the time to do it. You can become an associate partner, an academic partner, get your certification. At the Agone Institute, you can get a master's degree. There's all these things that CSRM is offering, We just need you to get involved, and we do need to know if you'd like to even be on the board. We have a couple, every year we have a couple spots that open up. We need board members. We need people that will write checks or whatever they do now with the new digital stuff. You know, I'm still a check writer.
Yeah, but even if you have questions about sports ministry,
absolutely.
just contact us with your questions, with the ways that you see sports becoming more and more a part of your church culture or community, or ideas that you have, or any way that you want to communicate with us. Our heart is to serve.
And we're still one of now 7 foundational partners of the Reach Gathering, which we will all be presenting at. We have got some excellent main session speakers and all kinds of tracks. Come and join us there and join the whole sports outreach community there. David, I'm going to give you the last opportunity, last word here to kind of close this out. Why should somebody go out and grab somebody and say, join CSRM or become part of the network? What are we doing that nobody else is doing, or what's God up to?
What are we doing? That's a good question.
What am I doing? Here's why I think you should join in with us. When Jesus left this earth, he left the ministry that he had to what he called the local church, a body of believers that acted like Jesus. In fact, even the word Christian was like little Jesuses in that day and age. So you have a group of people that act like Jesus. Let me tell you something. Sports, recreation, and fitness in this culture, in this world, are still going to be the greatest techniques in reaching people. The world has problems: obesity, depression. Listen, sports, recreation, and fitness have been proven to help even those physical and mental ailments that happen. But what we're after is more of that eternal ailment.
Amen.
We want people to live forever with Jesus, and I got to tell you, joining us and joining the sport, recreation, and fitness movement in churches is going to be one of the best ways that you can help your neighbor come to know Jesus as well.
Well, on behalf of Dave and Paul, Greg Linville here, who's the host of this podcast on a weekly basis, on behalf of all that serve in CSRM, we just want to thank you for your support through the years and that you're following along on this. Please do contact us. Let us know how we can serve you. Man, thanks for making time out of your schedules. And
privilege. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're just going to continue to believe that God's going to use all of us, including all who are watching and listening, and we're going to continue to bring people from around this world into a personal relationship as a dedicated disciple of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Amen.
Thanks to all of you
Thanks,
for tuning
guys.
in.